Welcome to rpgamepire. I'm David. Thank you for joining me in this how to play video of Jagged Alliance, the board game. Hopefully you've had a chance to check out the review and playthrough video. If we get 25 likes, we will do another how to play video on the advanced rules. This video only covers the introductory rules, which is the first 27 pages of the rulebook. The additional pages will cover advanced rules such as additional aim cards and using allies, the dictator phase, counterattacks and lieutenants, and missions and events. So this how to play video is going to cover how to set up and play the introductory scenario. And the object of Jagged Alliance is to liberate the nation, see if I pronounce this right, Arioko. And there's a dictator that's running the island and we're mercenaries being hired to liberate it. So here is the introductory scenario here. Scenario 1 takes place on these two tiles here, and the goal is to remove all enemies from this tile and the spawn card, which will spawn additional enemies and remove those enemies as well. So the first thing to do is set up the game. If you're playing, you should have at least 4 mercenaries, as you see here. However, if you play with three mercenaries, you will add an additional stamina cube to each mercenary. So say we weren't playing with her and only playing with 3, you would add an additional stamina cube. But we're going to play with 4 mercenaries. Each mercenary gets a number of stamina cubes equal to this number here. So this is 6. This person gets 7, 6, and 6. And stamina is used to do activations. So for instance, if you want to fire this weapon, it would cost 1 stamina, and you get to move and roll 1 yellow die. Or you could stay in place and roll, it would cost 2 stamina and roll 2 yellow die. So I'll talk about that more later. But the point is, if you want to fire a weapon, you could use each weapon once. If I want to fire this one here for 2 yellow cubes, I'd spend 2 stamina. If I want to move a space, it would cost an additional stamina. There's other things you could do too, which I'll explain in the phase. During the phase. But anyways, you have your stamina is not only you keep track with fatigue when you use it, also it becomes wounds if you get hit. And if there's no stamina available when you get wounded again, you'll get knocked down. And let's say I did take a hit, I take it from the fatigue zone, and I get knocked down, I'd get a severe injury, and now I'm down to 5 cubes. And the only way to heal the severe injury is through certain objects or being in the hospital. But other characters can help you heal wounds to get it back to the stamina, so that you can use them to do activations. So each mercenary has so much stamina to use to fire weapons, to move, and you also have a command action, which I'll explain in a little bit. But anyways, back to setup. So we have 4 mercenaries that we're playing with. If we played with 3, you'd get additional stamina for each one. If you look at the rule book here, the scenario booklet, we play with these 2 boards, 16B and 01A, which is shown here. We begin with these 2 red shirts. All 4 mercenaries start where the helicopter is, right here. We draw a random, let's see what those are called again. They're called encounter tokens, right here. And the introductory scenario tells you which encounter tokens to remove. Remove all encounter tokens providing rebels or funds, as well as ones spawning a blood cat. That's kind of like an animal that can attack you from the pool for this scenario. So I had all these tokens available to choose from here. I turn them upside down, and for this scenario I draw one randomly, which I already have done. For the spawn card, it tells you specifically for this intro scenario to draw the patrol card. And that's why I know there's going to be 2 red shirts and a sniper coming up. Other ones, we're only playing the level 1 ones here. There's level 2 and level 3 spawn cards. But you'll see there's sniper team, search party, other things that you could encounter in other scenarios. But this scenario tells us to have the patrol card. You saw right here with the mercenaries, they already had objects assigned. Oops, this is not supposed to be here. One of these is from the playthrough. But anyways, this goes somewhere else. All right, so it tells you in the scenario to draw the first 9 eames cards. So you see here in the upper left-hand corner, it goes from 1 all the way to 89. But we're going to play with the first 9. And the rules tell you to divide them up as you see fit. And the reason why they're divided up this way is because she has an additional weapon slot. So she's going to take these 2 handguns. She's going to take this flak jacket here, which will give her 1 yellow dice against attacks as armor to resist damage. And if she uses durability, she could even roll an additional die. I'll go over that in a moment. Charlene, as you see here, because she has a sniper ability where she can mark targets, she's going to take this weapon here, where she can move and roll 1 die. And she could even re-roll an attack die if she uses her durability. This is the range right here. It has a range of 0, so she has to be in the same space in order to use this weapon. When it has a number here, that means you can upgrade this card with like scopes and things, but because it has a 0, this card is not upgradable. And this is the cost if you are able to buy it down the road if you get funds. But in this scenario, we're not dealing with funds. And this is a weapon, so it has to go in the weapon slot right here. So her armor is a little different. So when you're about ready to get attacked by an enemy, you're either going to take armor to resist damage or to try to evade the attack by hiding. And and I'll explain that later as well. But anyways, this will give 1 blue die. But if I use a durability, I can get an additional blue die if I'm in the jungle and give me a better shot of evading the enemy. So this is an armor, so it has to go in the armor slot here. So again, these were divided up. This is a weapon here. That is a heavy weapon with this anvil. That means it takes up 2 slots. It can hit an enemy 1 space away. And for 1 stamina cube, I can fire it for 1 orange, or spin 3 stamina cubes and fire for 3 orange. I'm sorry, for 2 orange dice. And this is not upgradable as well. Kyle, the other one, has this weapon. Again, it can hit something 1 away. For 1 stamina cube, he can fire it for 1 yellow die. Here he can spin 2 stamina cubes, fire it for 1 yellow die, and get 1 automatic success. And then if he uses a durability, he can also suppress the enemy, which I'll explain as well later. So we've set up the game based on the decks, according to the rules here of the scenario booklet. And the object of this scenario is liberate all sectors, and there's 2 sectors. And you liberate a sector when all enemies and tokens have been revealed. And so you establish a perimeter. So we just landed, we're establishing a perimeter, liberating the sector that we landed in and the adjacent sector. And then the victory is, when done, you have made your first step on the road to liberating Aryuko. Still have trouble pronouncing that. And so this is a campaign. We'd go on to the next scenario after this one. So let's go over some basic phases here. So the way the game works is one of the mercenaries will go, and then any enemies in that sector will activate. So it's important for that mercenary to try to defeat an enemy every time it activates. Otherwise, those enemies are going to pile up, if they're in range, of that mercenary or the mercenary's friends. So here's the situation. Whoever I activate of these 4, they'll get to go, and these 2 red shirts, if they remain, will get to go next. So let's take a look at the enemies, because it's important to select the right enemies. So you'll see here that you want to start out with the 1 chevron side. If you start out with this side, these are more difficult enemies, and you'll see that there's 2 rows of stats. So this is the basic scenario. We're only going to use this first row. So this red shirt has 1 health, 1 armor, which we forgot to do in the playthrough. They're able to absorb one armor, 1 hit. But we hit them so many times anyways that they definitely wouldn't have withstood it. They automatically do 3 damage. And they have a range of 0, so you have to be in the same space. And if you want to evade this enemy, you have to get at least 1 success. So, let me demonstrate what that means by range 0. Here are the lines here. When an enemy activates, you're going to look at it will move. It's any orders that are here. It will move first, then attack. And it's important to remember that enemies never roll dice. The mercenaries only roll dice. So automatically, a red shirt will do 3 damage. It will move, then attack, because it has a range 0. So let's say the mercenaries activate, these red shirts would go in here and attack the active mercenary. And that mercenary would have to either do an evade or do armor, which I'll explain in a moment. Let's take a look at the other enemy. When the sniper comes up, the sniper is, again, you got to use the correct side. It doesn't move. This is the side where it's more difficult. The sniper has no armor, has 2 health. Now this means that it can hit anybody in that sector. And it needs at least 1 success to evade it. When we reveal the sniper, which I'll show here, eventually when it's revealed, so what happens is, once this area is cleared, well, it doesn't even have to be cleared. If a mercenary really wants to go off into this area on their own and deal with these enemies on their own, you could. But now you're splitting up your forces. By the way, it's important to remember that you cannot fire across sectors. So even if enemies do reveal here, see, it says that you get 2 red shirts in Zone A. So imagine these were already destroyed. And then the sniper would appear based on the number of spawn zones in A and B. So you'd know one of these is the X, and one of them would spawn here and here, and then the mercenaries have to find the sniper. In the meantime, the sniper gets to fire. Doesn't matter if it's been revealed or not, it will fire every round. So if you could split it up, let's say there was 1 left here, and you could have mercenaries in both sectors, but that's not a good idea. I just wanted to point out, though, that the sniper, when revealed, you'll be using these hidden tokens. So those are the 2 main enemies in the introductory scenario. And then you have these cards, so that way when you defeat an enemy, you can loot the body for objects. So I've gone over some basic things here. I've gone over setup. I've gone over what enemies we're playing with and what their stats mean. Again, it's important you play with the right row. This row here is elite, basic, and then you could have more advanced units, and then elite, more advanced units. So there's basically on 2 sides of a card 4 different types of units. They can get really tough here. And then right up here in the right-hand corner is how many cards you draw, or what deck you draw from, I should say. So you draw from the 1 chevron deck when they're basic, and you'll draw from the 2 chevron deck when they're elite. And I just have these tokens ready to go for later. By the way, there are other characters to play. So you get to choose what you want, and they're unique based on their special abilities. So I'll go over that real quick here. So Kyle has camouflage. It says here, killing an enemy while you're standing in a jungle area. Well, let me show you what jungle areas look like. Jungle areas are any space with this grass symbol. It also helps you evade when you're trying to avoid damage. So killing an enemy while he's standing in the jungle area skips the enemy activation in your sector after your turn. So that's a good move to do because all the enemies in that sector will not activate. Bobby, you never take wounds. You receive fatigue instead. So that's really nice because it's easier to recover fatigue than wounds. To recover wounds, you got to do a command action and heal, which I'll go over in a moment. As I already mentioned, Cynthia has 2 weapon slots, an additional weapon slot, so she has these 2 handguns, and she even has another slot for another one. Charlene can spend the command action to make a target in the same sector, to mark a target in the same sector, and then recovers a command action every time you kill a marked target. So what she does, she takes this right here. If she activates, she can target this, and then let's look at what marked means. All attacks against a marked target deal +1 damage, removed at the end of combat. So it allows her to do additional damage. Now I said I would talk about what suppress means, because this weapon here, if we spin a durability, gets suppression. Suppression, mercenaries have to spend 1 additional stamina for each action, so mercenaries, that really hurts them. Enemies cannot move and deal half damage. So enemies cannot move and they deal half damage, and it's removed after activation. So you're only suppressed for 1 turn. Bleeding, if that happens, because we might loot something that gets bleeding. Bleeding units receive 1 wound at the end of their activation, stays until healed with medic skill roll. All right, so let's go back over again the phases. So we're going to start with the mercenary activation. After each mercenary activates, the enemies go. So if Kyle activates, does his turn, then any enemies in the sector still standing will get to attack Kyle. Then if Bobby goes, same thing. Any enemies remaining will attack Bobby. Now, we could be in separate sectors, but we're going to stay in the same sector for this intro. One last thing before we start the player phase is what are command actions? So each character has a command action here. This card here, this chip. You could do your actions in any order that you want, and your command action is part of that. But it doesn't cost stamina to do a command action. So let's review real quick the actions you can take with your stamina, and then I'll review what you can do with your command action. Okay, so this is on page 16 if you're following along. So here's the actions each mercenary can take. You can move into one area, and it costs 1 fatigue. If you don't have any stamina in your middle zone, it would cost you 1 wound. So let me explain. Let's say a situation like this. Kyle really wants to move. If he doesn't have any stamina, the fatigue becomes a wound in order to move. But if he does have stamina, he just goes into the fatigue zone to move 1 area. Okay, so you can move, and you can do that as many times as you want. Then you use equipment, which I already explained. Depending on how you use the equipment, it can cost 1 or 3 stamina. You could also loot the body. It's free, but you got to be in that area, so it might cost you a move to get there. And then you could use inventory items for free usually. Sometimes they cost a stamina. So where do you keep track of that inventory? On the side here, you can keep up to 3 items in your bag. So right here, each character can do that. Keeping in mind that heavy objects will cost 2 slots. Now we're going to get to, real quick, it's important to know that each item can only be used once. So one thing that could be a mistake when playing the game is you fire your gun for 1, then you fire it again for 1. No, you can only use it once, unless the card says you can do it more than once. So Cynthia is the only one that can fire this gun once and then fire the other gun a second time if she wants. Everybody else basically only has one attack, unless they loot a body and get more items. Okay, so now we're going to talk about command actions. And the first one to go over is the group move. And it's important to understand the limitations of the group move. So here we have Kyle. Kyle is going to use a group move. He flips over his command token. It doesn't cost any stamina to use it. Everybody in the same space as Kyle can move with him if they want. So, and they can even be knocked over. They could be wounded, basically, where they have no stamina left. I'll go over with that condition in a minute. But let's say Bobby, actually this is Kyle. Bobby is knocked down. So Kyle decides to take the command action and takes everybody into this adjacent area. Because this sector is still contested. If, let's say, Cynthia were to take a command action the following turn, and she would be prevented from going into the next sector because this sector is not liberated. You would have to do a flee action to do that. So if you are in a contested sector, you're not allowed to go into another contested sector, but you can go into a liberated sector. So let's say this was liberated. They could do a move into this sector. Let's say, though, when that happens, the contested sector resets, so this person would come back. Or if there was a spawn card here, the spawn card, the contested sector would reset if all mercenaries leave it to a liberated sector. If it's contested, they can't go there. So that's the command action of group move, which is useful within the same sector. And if you're together. Another one you can do is a skill roll. So you could do leadership, where you roll the dice and you basically are shouting at your other team members to words of encouragement or don't give up, and they recover fatigue, or let's move on, soldier, that kind of thing. You could also repair items and regain their durability. And you also do medical by healing wounds. You could heal yourself, but you can't give yourself leadership. You can't recover stamina when you do a leadership skill. You could also do training, which isn't where you train rebels and add them as allies, which is above your board here. You can get allies above here. You could also do bribes, but we're not playing with money, where you could bribe officials in the nation to help you or do things for you. So, command actions are very powerful. They don't take stamina to do, and it allows differentiation between the mercenaries. So you see here, Kyle has a really good leadership. If he rolls yellow here, he just got 2 successes. When you get the expertise icon, you re-roll the die. You remember that you got a success, so that's 2. Re-roll it again, so he got 3 successes. So if any of these other mercenaries in his same sector would be able to recover stamina from their fatigue zone. Now, if he did healing, he would roll 1 die, and if anybody had wounds in these areas, can recover wounds. If he did durability, let's say Bobby did durability, the red dice are the best. Orange is in between, and yellow is the worst. Let's say you mark items that have used durability, and can you do it on yourself? Let me look that up again. So I need to look up if you can repair your own items. For each success, you repair 1 durability of any equipment carried by any mercenary in the same area. It doesn't matter if it's in their inventory or equipped. So I assume you can repair your own. So you can repair items in your inventory or ones that are equipped. So let's say these 2 were, their durability was used. He'd roll the die. Well, first he'd flip this over. And he'd be able to remove 3 durability. So now, oops, this is where they were at. He got 3 successes. He only needed 2, and now these are repaired. So again, that takes a command icon. I'm sorry, a command move, flip over your tile. You can do that once on your turn. All right, so now we're going to go over the phase order. So it's right here on the back. Now, first we pick which mercenary we want to activate. We do a command, we refresh the command action. So the token gets refreshed. So if Kyle was going to go take a second turn after everybody else is gone, and say everybody's already moved, and Kyle, let's say he spent some fatigue already, Kyle refreshes his command token. Okay, recover fatigue. So you recover this 2 here, he recovers 2. So he has 4 to spend, 4 stamina to spend. On activation effects, we don't have any items like that, or there could be mission cards or things like that. Not in this introductory scenario. Decide whether to flee. Now this is interesting. Fleeing is when you can leave a contested area, but the only problem is, I got to find it here. Here we go. If a mercenary is currently located in a contested sector or on a mission card, and at least one liberated sector is adjacent to that, the mercenary can decide to flee. So right now we can't even flee in this scenario in the very beginning here because there's no liberated sectors. But let's say we get over here and the sniper's kicking our butt and things like that, and this was liberated, we could flee to this sector. So a flee is not going to be an option in the very beginning. Okay, let's take a look at the next thing. Reorganize an equipment. So let's say I had some things here in the inventory that I wanted to switch out. This is the only time I'd be able to do that. Now when I loot a body, if I have an open slot, I could put them in my open slot. Otherwise it has to go into my inventory. And the next turn I can switch the stuff around. All right. Then once we pick somebody to move, we can do any of these in order, and as many times as we can move, attack, loot. And then we can do a command action, where we train, do a group move, skills, or bribe. And then the enemies that are left remaining in that sector will get to move. So now we're ready to do a mercenary action. So I'll go through all four mercenaries and the enemy activations, and I'll try to spawn. I'll show you spawning. But again, this is going to be a quick one here. You would want to watch the playthrough to see the whole introductory scenario. So here we go. Let's activate Bobby here. Actually, I'll do something different. Let's activate Charlene. Charlene is going to mark an enemy. She's going to mark this guy. Okay. Then she is going to, she's going to do +1 damage automatically. They only have 1 health, but they're going to absorb 1 hit with that armor. So she has to hit him at least 1 more time. So to make sure she kills him, she's going to do, she's going to have to move 1. She could take this one and, let me show it on the camera here. She could take this move and move in there and hit and attack him, but she can get a blank result. She wants to roll 2 yellow dice, but she's going to have to move. So she's going to have to spend 1 stamina to move and 2 stamina to fire this. And she'll use her durability to get a reroll just to make sure. So this is how you would mark that. She's going to spend 1 to move. So she moved that stamina to fatigue. So she moves into here. Okay. Then she's going to she has to declare that she's using the durability on her weapon. That way she can get a reroll. She's going to spend 2 stamina to take a more careful shot. That's what that represents. She'll roll 2 dice. Now she knows with the target being marked that she's going to get +1 damage. Oh, and I forgot to do this. When she marks it, she had to spend a command action, so she did that. Okay, so here we go. She's going to roll the 2 dice and fire at the guy. 2 hits. Now let's say, though, she didn't get 2 hits. She got 2 blanks. Well, because she used her durability on the gun, she can reroll one of these dice. And she did. And just to show you how this works, she got 1 success. Now she gets to reroll that die again. Got another 6, that's 2. Gets to reroll it again. 3 successes, plus the 1 for being marked, 4 damage. He absorbs 1 with his armor. He can only take 1 hit. He's dead. So he lays down. When she kills the person that she's marked, she recovers her command action. Now she can spend it again if she wants. So the mark goes away. For free, she can loot the body. So that's what she's going to do. She's going to loot that body. So she draws a random card here. And let me just move to the other camera here. Discard while attacking with a weapon to add a bleed to the attack. So this is pretty good if she wants to. She can trade. By the way, you can trade items with people in your same space. So she adds it right here to her inventory, because she could put it here. She does have a slot, but you can use free items out of your inventory as well. They could be either in your pack or right here. It's weapons that have to be equipped to use, and armor has to be equipped. But items like this, like grenades and things, can be in your pack or equipped right here. All right, so she killed that guy. He's removed. Now, it would be nice for her to attack this other guy. The only problem is she doesn't have any other weapons. So she's pretty much done. She could do a command action, though, and try to do a group move. So she can move herself for free, which she might do to, or maybe she'll mark that other guy for the next player. Just let me make sure you can group move by yourself, because yeah, you can just move yourself. But what she's going to do to help out the next mercenary that goes, she's going to mark. So she's going to mark that other person again, right here. So that way, the other mercenaries will get +1 damage. Now this mercenary will get to go now. So if we look at the back here, she activated, she did all the actions she wants to do. Now the enemies activate in that sector. There's 1 red shirt left. If we look at the red shirt, he has to move, because he can only attack at range 0, to attack her. And the first thing he does is he moves and then attacks. And he goes after, the order of priority is to go after the active player. So he's going to move here with his mark into there. He's going to attack her. Now remember, enemies don't roll dice. She's going to take 3 damage. So she has a decision to make. Does she try to resist it with armor by reducing the damage? So let me show you what that means. She has 1 armor here. She'll roll 1 die and reduce it by the number of successes. So she gets a 2. She'll reduce that 3 to 1 damage. So she'll take 1 wound. Or does she try to hide, where she has to get at least 1 success according to the card here? She needs 1 success. But she only gets 1 blue because she moved out of the jungle. So that wasn't a very good move. So she could either re-roll 1 yellow if she tries to go for armor, or this die here if she's in the jungle. So actually she can't even evade because she's not even in the jungle. That's a bummer. So she moved out into this area where she's not in the jungle. So she has to take the armor action. So she will use a durability so she can re-roll it. So now she's going to so she's already going to take 3 damage, unless she gets some successes here. So here she goes. Okay, she re-rolls that. So she has a 1 success. Now she could re-roll and try to get a 2, which she will. So she's going to risk it here. All right, she did, because she did use her durability to get to, she took her re-roll. So she now only took 1 damage, which in this case is a wound, which can be healed by someone else who does the medical action. So she turned out to be all right. If she would have gotten a blank, she would have been down to 3 wounds, and if she ever had to got hit again, she would get severely injured. Because if there's no, if you can't take any stamina here when you get wounded or fatigued, you get severely injured. But anyways, so she took 1 wound. So that's the end of Charlene's activation. Now we can either do Bobby, Kyle, or Cynthia. All right, Kyle's going to go next. Kyle is going to activate this gun. He's going to spend 1 fatigue to fire it at a range of 1. See, it's one away, and it's marked, so I already know he's taking 1 damage. He rolls 1 orange. So here he goes. Now he could get a blank, and he did. So he failed. That's a bummer because he doesn't have anything else he can fire. So he'll do. Now let me roll or look up healing real quick. Do you have to be in the same area? I think you do. Yes, in your area. So what he's going to do, he's going to move 1 space into the area with Charlene, use his command action, and try to heal. So here we go. And he failed. All right. Now this red shirt, by the way, the red shirt automatically takes 1 damage, but because he rolled a blank, that 1 damage was observed by that red shirt's armor. All right, so he's in there. He gets attacked by the red shirt. The red shirt's going to automatically do 3 damage. Here is his jacket. He gets 1 yellow. He's going to use 1 durability to add an additional yellow. So he's going to roll 2 yellow dice to try to remove 3 damage. He removed only 2 of them. I mean, only 1 of them, so he takes 2 damage. So 2 stamina go. Oh, to him though, you never take wounds. You receive fatigue instead, so it goes to his fatigue. So now next turn when he activates, he'll get 2 of these back. So he's done. Now we got to make sure we get this guy. Let's do Cynthia. Cynthia activates. She's going to fire. She can fire both guns at 0, but she has to move in there. So here she goes. She's going to move in. So she moves in there. And then she fires both guns at a range 0. The guy is marked, so he already takes +1 damage. So he's killed. So Charlene gets her command token recovered, but it doesn't matter. She can't activate again until later. This guy's gone. She's going to use a free loot it for free. Draws it. Gets this card. Discard while attacking with a gun to gain a reroll for the attack. So that's pretty cool. It's a hollow point guns. Bullets, I should say. Rounds is what they call it. Maybe I should read the card. All right, so that piece is moved because it was looted. Let's take a look at what Charlene can do with her command action. She has a pretty good wound. She could help, heal. She can help heal Charlene. She doesn't have a leadership skill, so she can't help people get stamina back. She could help repair. She's going to try to heal Charlene. So she's going to flip over her command and roll 1 orange, and because Charlene's in the same space, she heals 2. She only needed to get a 1 though, so that goes back into the stamina. All right. So we still have Kyle hasn't gone yet. Now the nice thing is, there are no enemies here. But Kyle is going to move into here to flip over this token. So Kyle activates. There's no fatigue to recover because this is the start of the game. He spends 1 fatigue to move into the zone. He moves into here, and he flips it over. He takes 2 fatigue, and it happens right away. So this moves right to here. Now, at this point in the game, this is one of those rules you got to remember. When all tiles have been revealed and all enemies have been destroyed, the sector is liberated. So now everything is considered one area according to the rules. So even though they're separated here by these lines, when there were enemies here, they're all considered in the same area. So Kyle is going to take a group move now. So he's going to take a group move. Doesn't cost any stamina to do it. And he's going to move into the adjacent sector. And everybody gets to move with him, because remember, now that it's liberated, we're all considered together anyways. Now we can decide when you go into the next area where we want to be that are adjacent. And in case I didn't mention this, I think I did, but you can't fire across into other sectors. You can only fire within that sector. So he's going to move here because he has, he can still attack with his gun. The other ones are going to go spread out like this. Let's see, we'll go like this. All right. Now reveal the spawn card. Okay, so we get 2 red shirts in Sector A. And then we, based on the number of spawn zones, we get 2 snipers, and one of them is the X, and we randomly mix them up and place them here. So here's the danger of moving into a new sector. Kyle is going to get attacked. So Kyle now, at least he can fire at one of them, but the danger of that is he can get wounded. So he's going to do it anyways. He's going to fire, take more careful aim and get at least 1 success. And then he's going to suppress that area and spend a durability. So he's going to suppress this area right here. And he'll roll 1 yellow, but he gets an automatic success. So if he at least gets 1 hit with that yellow, he's going to eliminate that red shirt. Let me just make sure of something. When you're suppressed, they cannot move and deal half damage. Oh, that's pretty good. All right, so he's going to roll the yellow die. All right, so he got him because he automatically gets, and I almost forgot to check here, this weapon can hit 1 away. I would have had to have redone that if he had to be in the same space. But he automatically gets a success, and he rolled 1 success. So the red shirt absorbed 1 hit, took an additional hit, he's dead. So you lay it down. Now the enemies activate. Because he's suppressed, he can't move, so he can't attack. But the sniper's in both zones, so because this zone is not suppressed, he's going to get to fire still. And if you look at the sniper can hit anybody, that's what that symbol means, at anywhere in that sector. So it would be an attack of 2. So Kyle, if we look at his, oh, no, this is, wow, the lines here, this is definitely a different sector. It's kind of hard to see with the bushes, but the lines do go like that. All right, so Kyle looks at his armor. He can evade, and because he's in an area that gives bushes, he can use this. So you can use a blue. He'll get 1 blue die, and he'll use the durability to get an additional blue die. So what is, he needs to only get 1 success to evade the sniper. Only needs 1 success here. The sniper's not elite. He's just a regular sniper. So let's see if he can evade it. The danger is if he doesn't evade it, he'll take 2 hits. So he did. He got 1 success. He could re-roll it, but he only needed 1. But let's say he failed. If he failed, he would take 2 hits. So let's say he failed. He'd get knocked down because this gets a wound. And then because he could not take another stamina here into the wound, he has to take a fatigue. He gets knocked down, takes a severe injury. So now he's down to 1 less. And he's knocked down, which means he can be healed. He cannot recover stamina on his turn. So he cannot be activated. Somebody's going to have to run in there and use a leadership he had the best leadership. So Charlene would have to go in there to use leadership to help him recover stamina. So that's the situation here. If he rolled badly, Charlene would have to go in there, do her command action to do leadership. She could still fire into there. Oh no, she can't fire into there because she has to be in the same space. So she could move into there, use her leadership, but then she'd have to move into here next to fire at him. So it would be an interesting dilemma if he got knocked down. So that's the basic scenario, the introductory scenario. If we get 25 likes, I'll do another how to play with the advanced rules. And the playthrough goes through the first scenario, which is this one right here. But like I said, if we get 25 likes, we'll do scenario 2 here and scenario 3. Do another review of having played the campaign. You'll see there'll be much longer scenarios because there's a lot of spawn cards. We'll do another review, and like I said, we'll cover the additional 5 or 6 pages here in the rules that you'll need for those advanced scenarios. So thank you for watching this how to play video for Jagged Alliance, the board game. We really appreciate it when you give us thumbs up and you subscribe. I'm David, and welcome to RPGamepire.